Hey there, it's Craig Ansell from the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. I can't tell you how excited I am because I just got back from Podfest 2023. I'm going to share my views on Podfest 2023, talk about a few people I met, some relationships I'm building, and also the content that I saw at the show was amazing. I was an engineer and in 2008 lost my job due to the economic collapse. Jobs were scarce. I didn't know where to turn to get help updating my resume. Online services and coaches charge hundreds, even thousands of dollars. I took matters into my own hands and learned how to craft interview-winning resumes. Shortly later, I landed a job with a Fortune 500 company. I have helped many achieve similar success. Now I share my tips to create interview-winning resumes, interviewing excellence, and high-performance growth strategies on my podcast, Career Growth Made Easy. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Craig Ansell, your host of the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. For today's show, we're doing something special. I was just able to attend Podfest 2023. I believe this is either my third or maybe fourth time in attendance, and this one was absolutely fantastic. I found out it's actually the 9th annual Podfest. It was held at the Renaissance Orlando Hotel at SeaWorld. It was a great hotel with plenty of room and an awesome venue. Like I said, there was incredible energy, and it was awesome for networking experience. But we also had some fun while we learned, and I think that was critical. Make the event fun for learning. There was something, though, that really was special to me. I was one of the speakers at Podfest. I chose to support the beginner track and gave a talk called 3 Years of Podcasting Experience in 300 Seconds. The type of talk I gave was called Pecha Kucha. Its name comes from the Japanese origin, and it means chit-chat. The format, you see, is such that it was only a 5-minute time slot to present. It was a tight time frame, but I felt that was challenging, which further excited me. We presented slides while we spoke, but here's the kicker. The slides would auto-advance every 15 seconds. You heard me right. I only had 15 seconds to share on each slide's content. It had to be well organized, well timed, and worse yet, I was not in control of the slides. So, timing was critical, but so was the message and connecting with my new audience. The pressure was certainly on. A few days, though, before the event, I got my speaking position. Would you believe it? Can you feel it? Do you know what number it was? No, not number 1 and not last. I'll give you a hint. It's a lucky number, so to speak. It was number 13. There were a number of very talented speakers with me. I'll get into some of the details of my talk in a little bit, but also I have a free gift for you. If you've ever considered starting a podcast, or maybe you're just kicking one off, you'll want to stick around to the end of this episode for sure. The night before Podfest, on Wednesday, was pre-registration, followed by a mixer. It was my first mixer at the hotel central bar called The Mist. There I met up with my podcast friend, Joey Garrity. If you're not familiar, she worked in Hollywood entertainment industry for over 15 years with top companies, also in film, television, and created web content as well as branded entertainment. And now she's an author, live stream host, podcaster, and international speaker. What a list of accomplishments. Well, it was great to catch up with her and discuss our agenda planning for the full event. This was also the night that I met William Hung for the first time. His name might ring a bell with you. He was on American Idol and sang Ricky Martin's hit song, She Bangs. The next morning, after William's American Idol appearance, he awoke to find himself famous, if you will, an overnight success. I learned he was criticized with some rather intense negative feedback from the hosts of the show, but it was how he responded that was amazing. Little did I know, the next morning I was going to be on the same stage as William, as we both would be giving talks. You know, it was an absolutely incredible opportunity to be at Podfest and to give back, help up-and-comers, but to meet, share a stage with William Hung, and then later have the opportunity to chat with an internationally recognized famous person? Well, that was beyond words, I have to tell you. He was so calm and humble, but when he spoke, there was this warm, energetic glow about him. In fact, when he gave his talk, I learned in greater detail what triggered his overnight international recognition. He shared how to stand firm and how he anchored himself even when receiving intensely negative feedback. His message was so inspiring. There was a clear reminder present to follow your dreams regardless of what feedback others give you. You know, there will be trolls out there that will leave negative or nasty comments or feedback on your social media. But, you should continue to be yourself and show up was the message. And if that message wasn't strong enough to close, he topped it off by singing She Bangs for us. Wow, the show's over and I'm so excited. I think you can hear my intensity just through the microphone. I'm glad I spoke a few slots earlier than William. I was able to warm up the stage for him. If I would have been, I'm trying to find my words here. It would have been hard to follow him because he really set the stage on fire. I guess you can hear from my voice, I've become a true William Hung fan overnight as well. By the way, with regards to Podfest and speaking sessions, there were both short form and long form speaking sessions. The show had public and I think some private expo halls where, depending on your access, you could gain entry. But I really want to take a moment, though, and just to thank Podfest for gifting me a speaker creator pass. Being awarded a speaker slot at a very large gathering, an international gathering, if you will, is one thing. It was an amazing accomplishment in itself to be chosen. But then to be gifted a higher level access pass was another. So, without further ado, I want to directly thank Podfest, Chris Kremitzos, the creative content director, and Andy Weiss, the chief marketing for Podfest. You both were very generous, and I thank you very wholeheartedly. Our MC at Podfest was a pro, but she wasn't scheduled. It turns out she was filling in since our original host got COVID, sadly. A generous thank you goes out to Celicia Thomas Weiss. By the way, that's Andrew's wife. Her energy was incredible, and she really rocked our introductions as we jumped up on stage. I learned that Celicia's marriage was recent to Andrew. In fact, I think it was October of last year. But what's more amazing, she had this incredible energy about her, and I just couldn't place it. It seemed like she was familiar being up on stage. Well, I was right. She's a Broadway star and was even Miss California, can you believe it? What an incredible lady and set of accomplishments. Congratulations, Celicia, for all your professional accomplishments and for your new marriage with Andrew. I wish you great success. It was such an honor to be at Podfest, to speak, and be around accomplished, humble, high-energy people. With my speaking engagement, I know I was going to need some photography support. So my daughter Madison, who is also my digital manager and social media manager, joined me. Here, too, I needed to place a well-deserved shout-out. She did such a great job capturing a number of different angled shots of me speaking and even a brief video of my closing portion of my talk. Her attendance was graciously gifted by Albin Brook, and he's the head of marketing over at Buzzsprout, who is also my podcast host. Thank you, Albin and Buzzsprout, for your generosity and matching my speaker content creator pass so that Madison and I had the same access. Thank you, Madison, as well. You did a fantastic job. And, Albin, I want to mention, too, thank you not only for the ticket, but Buzzsprout for providing me with 3+ years of strong podcast hosting support. My show, Career Growth Made Easy, wouldn't be the same without Buzzsprout. Your process to set up and release a podcast is pretty straightforward and simplified. In fact, over the years, you guys have added tools and features to be in line with or jump ahead of the Joneses, so to speak. The customer service that you guys provide and ladies provide is both online and when I meet you at the shows is top-notch. In fact, if you're thinking about starting a podcast, if you're a content creator and looking to get a megaphone to share your message with the world, let me tell you, it's easier than you think. Feel free to connect with me through social media. It's at Craig Ansell, CraigAncel. I'm on social media at Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, or you can email me directly if you're looking for something more private, craig@craigansell.com. If you like, I'll get you connected with Buzzsprout. In fact, I mentioned a great gift at the end of the show. I'm going to provide you access to my Podfest slide deck that I just shared in a packed room. I think there were over 200 people in attendance. My talk and content was very well received based on the feedback and round of applause. I'd like to share my slideshow with you, so stay tuned because I'm going to provide you with the link to get access. And it's 100% free. Maybe you're not thinking about starting a podcast now. Maybe you're thinking about YouTube. You know what? It doesn't matter. I'd still recommend grabbing the slide deck because it's going to help you with some inspiration and share you the top reasons why you might fail and how to avoid. Now, by the way, my talk that I gave had a lot about passion and not letting your flame go out. If you have a message to share, and you know what? Let me just say this. Don't let reasons get in the way. They are just excuses to not start. In fact, I think there's a pretty well-known quote out there to the effect, and it goes something like this. Excuses are lies wrapped up in reasons. If I recall correctly, the author was Howard Wright, so I'd like to give credit where possible. Now, let's see about the event. There was that expo hall I mentioned. There were a number of great vendors there, from AV companies to podcast hosts, self-help tables, and also book publishing services. I received quite a bit of interest and even a suggestion, or perhaps you could say a request or two, to release a book. As I grow my network, I think I'll reach out to a few of the folks that have already traveled that path. Maybe find out about the challenges, the do's and don'ts of being an author, a first-time author, in fact. You know, that reminds me about connections. Earlier on, I mentioned someone, Joey Garrity. At one point, I was able to stop by her table. She was doing a book signing, and I endorse her book fully. She's a 2-time author, with her latest book being, with her latest book, Being Your Own Superstar, How to Expand Your Love Capacity. I was very fortunate to get an early copy, which she graciously autographed. I think her book's 1-year anniversary is coming up somewhere around March, if I'm not mistaken. Great job, Joey. Great book. It's an easy read and is packed full of easy-to-implement tips that will help you focus on and elevate your inner game. I'll have a link in the show notes for sure, so you can grab her book. But also feel free to share on my social media and tag her if you've read her book or have comments. By the way, Joey's first name is spelled uniquely. In fact, she's the first Joey I've met with this spelling. So it's Joie, and the last name is Garrity with 2 T's, Gharrity. That should make it easy for you to find her. Again, she has 2 books, and she has a history of working in Hollywood and with some other top firms. You know, what else can I say about Podfest? It was absolutely amazing. The title of today's show is likely going to be 3 Years of Podcasting in 300 Seconds. So what's that all about? That was actually the presentation that I gave, as I mentioned in the beginning. It would have been great to have additional time, but I actually thought it was pretty challenging speaking at a little faster pace and keeping the energy level up. I'd actually not done something like that before, and it was very rewarding. Plus, being a speaker allowed me to be with the other speakers that were present, and there was just this incredible energy and so much information was shared. I can't rave enough about Podfest. Whatever your passions are, whatever you feel tugging at your heartstrings, don't put it on the couch. Don't put it under the table or in a box and cover it up. Open it up, display it, make an action plan, and go after it to achieve it. Again, whether it's podcasting, please see me. I have a little bit of experience with YouTube, and I'm growing my connections, if you will, with regards to YouTube and considering live streaming. Yeah, there's some information for you. I've got a few things on the plate for 2023 that I just didn't know were coming, but I think with some help, I'll be able to make that transition as well. Plus, I have some really incredible surprises coming up over the next few months. It's something that I never would have thought would have happened. It wasn't even on my radar. In fact, it was something that I was invited to do, and I'll talk more about it in the future. It's by special request only, and I was honored to receive consideration for something. So, as I start to close the show, I want to make sure you remember 3 years of podcasting in 300 seconds is free to download at my website. You want to go to craigansell.com/event. There, you'll see a number of options. Pick Podfest, and you'll be able to get my slide deck that I shared with over 200 people. It received really strong reviews and thunderous applause. I want you to have that same information when and if you start a podcast or you consider being on YouTube as well. Finally, I will have Joey's book, a link to Joey's book, on my podcast notes as well. So feel free to click on the logo and you should be able to see the details. And I just want to thank you, my listeners, for being there, sharing this energizing experience with me. If you find this information helpful, or if you have someone that you know could benefit from this energy and enthusiasm, sharing information about some of the events I visit, but also the self-help and growth topics and techniques I share, I'm asking you wholeheartedly, please take this time and share my episode with a friend, a colleague, someone that you know might need lifting up. If you find value in my show, please do that. And then for yourself, please grab some freebies. I usually have those on my website. And don't forget today's special free download. Thank you so much. I share a heartfelt, humble appreciation for you staying tuned episode after episode. I can't believe how far we've gotten together. I am Craig Ansell, your host, proudly closing another episode of the Career Growth Made Easy podcast. This year podcast was intense. I hope to see you at the next one. Peace. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our channel. New episodes every Monday. In the meantime, why don't you follow us on social media at Craig Ansell on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To book a coaching appointment, download our free guides, or join our email list, check out the links in the description below.